Details, Please, with your hosts, Emmanuel and Angela Williams, where we dive deeper into conversations with visionary entrepreneurs to discover what it takes to turn passion into purpose. Listen to real-world stories from self-starters and trailblazers, and discover strategies and innovations shaping a greener future. Whether you are a seasoned business person or just starting out, let this be your go-to resource for inspiration and actionable tips for success. Join us now as we create a brighter, greener future together.
Hello and welcome to More Details Please, where we talk about turning your passion into purpose and embracing life as an entrepreneur. I'm Angela.
And Emmanuel Williams.
And today we're going to continue our conversation on time, but this time we are going to dig a little bit deeper. How you can work smarter, not longer, because time is money. We've all heard that, right?
Absolutely. That is very, very important. And this podcast is really exciting today. We got a wonderful guest that's going to come on that's going to share nuggets of wisdom, and we're going to go deeper into the psyche so that we can understand what makes our entrepreneurial journey exciting, where we can connect and we can serve our purpose. And so I am excited about this topic for today.
So our special guest that you'll meet later in the show, as Emmanuel alluded to, is Courtney Lorenz. We're so excited because we had an opportunity to meet Courtney at the Edward Lowe Foundation, which every Michigan entrepreneur should experience. Everybody in the world really should experience it because it is a life-changing experience and a very serene environment that allows you that space to really grow and develop as an entrepreneur. Now, Courtney's going to share time-saving strategies as a successful businesswoman, and she's going to talk all about that. So I'm so excited and can't wait for Courtney to join us. So you've heard time is money. Basically, it's saying time has value. And what I'll say very specifically is focus on income-producing activities. Now, what are those income-producing activities? Can you get a sale? Are you talking to a client? Are you following up with a client? Are you collecting money? Those are income-producing activities. Shifting folders around is not an income-producing activity. Organizing things and spending too much time on social media is not an income-producing activity. You set it up and let it go. You set it up and let it run. So using your time wisely is the most important thing, and that's going to matter for profit, progress, and your personal well-being.
Well, I want to take this approach. Who is the one that gauge if you're using your time properly? And based on who's gauging, who is the one that said that these are the things that you need to do use time wisely? And what is the byproduct of that? What is the end result of that? Because time is really an illusion. And if you don't understand how to use time, what time is really about, you can get trapped in a mindset where you will lose yourself in time. For an example, we all talk about the fear of the future and the pain of the past. If we constantly and continuously focus on those stories we tell ourselves about the fear of the future or the pain of the past, and we hold on to those unforgiving thoughts and emotions, then we're trapped in time. And if we're trapped in that type of psychological time, then the end result of what we produce is going to be negative. So in dealing with time, understanding time, especially as an entrepreneur, it's very important. We've got to be very careful about how we dissect this conversation and get to the root cause of how to really, from a holistic perspective, focus on using time as a productive way of balancing your business and your life.
Well, you have to ask yourself often, am I spending my time on what truly matters in business and in life for that matter? But really, if you are in business, you're in business more than likely to make money so that you can take care of your family and other things. So if you're doing stuff that's not generating money, then it's probably the wrong thing to do. That seems pretty obvious, right?
Well, let's look at it this way. I'm going to give you another example. You're in business. You're in business to make money. You use your time to make money, and you become what we call, quote unquote, successful. And in that process, we end up running ourselves down, eating all kinds of food that is not good for us. We neglect our relationship with our spouse. We neglect our relationship with our kids, and we run our health down. And so when we get to the end of the road where we call ourselves successful, we end up having a stroke, and we end up having a getting really sick. And because we caught ourselves focusing on time using it to be successful, we have ostracized all of the people in our life where don't nobody even want to be bothered with us. So would you say that, are you using time even though you have reached a goal? Would you say that you have used that time wisely or successfully? Just something to think about.
Yeah, and I'm not going to use that word balance because I really don't believe that there is such thing as balance. Sometimes you're going real hard and other times not so much. However, you are very clear. You are very right when it comes to looking at how you're spending your time in the business versus how you're spending your time with your family and your own health, your own self. So a lot of that matters as well. And in that case, you have to, I'm going to talk about some techniques that I use. You actually schedule it in. You schedule that time in so that you have a way of ensuring that you are taking care of all those different aspects of your person, because we're a whole person. We're not just a business person. We're a whole person. And being a whole person, you have to deal with all those different aspects of your life. But we all get busy. As a business owner, we use that a lot, that I am just busy, busy, busy. I said multiple times before, I'm going to stop saying I'm busy. But busy means you have a lot to do. And the reality is, if there's nothing left to do, you're probably going to expire. So there's always going to be something left to do. So being busy, no doubt, is a part of what it is in business, but it's kind of like a buzzword right now. You have to ask yourself, are you being productive? So we want to make sure we don't make busyness an excuse for not getting done what really needs to get done. Right, Emmanuel?
Yeah, I always say that being an entrepreneur, being a whole person, yes, is a word of going into business to make money. But you have to define what success is for you, and you're not, so that way you're not caught up and trapped in this box of what life tells us what success is. For me, success might be different. For somebody else, success might be a different. And I think that's really a wise thing to understand because everybody is different. For me, what busy means to me is busy being quiet and being able to connect deeper to a place inside of me that I can not only bring that into the world, but use it as a means of being an entrepreneur to serve other people. That's busy to me. Busy is not necessarily running around doing this, doing that, or whatever. But you can be busy, and like you said, Angela, it's important to be productive. But what is productivity, and where do the creativity, where do the inspiration and enthusiasm come as a result of infusing that into your entrepreneurial journey? And one of the things that we do here at Detail Expert, we love turning our passion into purpose, and that's what I love about Courtney. It's like she is not only doing this to make money, but she is doing this to serve a greater good that's bigger than herself. That is really, really important.
Yeah, I must admit though, when you say what is busy, I get a mood boost when I can check things off my list. It makes me feel good. I can't help it. So I do have my 6 most important things that I take care of every day. And when I can check those things off, it makes me feel good. I feel like I am making progress. I'm getting closer to my very meaningful goal. But I often say, am I doing enough? Am I doing the right things? But the key is I want to work smarter. And that's some of the things that we're going to talk about today. How do you work smarter? What are some of the techniques and tools that you can put in place to make sure you have time well spent? You can do more with less. You can do more with less.
Well, as an entrepreneur, it's very important to understand who is the liability and who is the asset. You can be busy and you can be working all day, all night. But if you don't understand what your liabilities are and your assets are, and focus on not dealing with getting rid of your liability and infusing more of your assets into your business model so that you can be more productive, and not more productive in terms of just making money, but more productive in terms of having a team and people around you and understanding what your weaknesses and what your strengths are, and understanding that you're not the smartest one in the room, and understanding that you have to be open and listen to other people, and being able to have that bring that into your entrepreneur journey is very important.
Yeah, I agree. The exciting part about scaling the business, you scale the business by bringing others along. And you have to trust the individuals that you're hiring to do the job that you expect them to do. So bringing other people on that are smarter than you, that is truly how you scale the business. You multiply yourself. They're not going to do it exactly the way you would do it, but if you train them the right way and you invest in them, as we talked about in one of our previous podcasts, you can in fact scale your business by bringing other people along and training them properly. So being busy doesn't mean that you're being effective. It really, you have to stop sometimes and say, can somebody else do this? Can somebody else do this instead?
And another thing I think that's really important is the most permanent thing that you're going to deal with in life is impermanence. I'll say that again. The most important, the most permanent thing that you're going to deal with life is impermanence. And at one point, something could be an asset, but as time go on, it could become a liability. So as an entrepreneur, you have to be aware enough and alert enough to understand what your market is, and you have to be tuned in to all of these different dynamics that's going on in your business. And I think that that's what makes entrepreneurs so special, is because they have the ability to not only continue to reinvent yourself, but to also continue to overcome. And in the process of doing that is really getting back to your purpose in life. Why are we here? Who are you and why are you here? And understanding that question puts you on a journey to realize that you are way more important, and what you're doing is way more important once you understand that than what you really believe to be, because you are a part of a consciousness that is evolving, and you play a role in that evolution. And in bringing your gifts and your talents and joy and enthusiasm into what you do to serve other people, that's on the road of having a passion and turning it into a purpose.
Yeah, we're great believers that innovation and creativity, anything that can make you more effective, is something you need to incorporate your business to just streamline your business and your life. You want to make life easier. So one of the things that we do, and Emmanuel talked about it in our last podcast, is our deep work session. So Emmanuel, you want to talk a little bit about deep work?
Yeah, deep work is really fun for me, and it's because we have an opportunity to have very powerful minds in a room together, and we're focusing on a definite chief aim. We have 5 or 6 executives, and we set an agenda, and we say these are the tasks that we need to accomplish within a certain amount of time, and we need to be able to create some quiet time. This is the wonderful part about deep work, some quiet time. And we need to be in a place of presence and joy and enthusiasm, and just allow the conversation to emerge and see what creative ideas and see what creative solutions that we can come up with to reach that particular goal. And I tell you, every time we have these meetings, these deep work sessions, and we come out of these deep work sessions, synchronicities, phone calls, it's like all kinds of stuff, start to happen, because my whole thing is that you don't get out of life what you want. You get out of life what you are. And what you are is what you think, what you feel, what you believe, what you react to, what your personality is, because we are all transmitters of energy and we are receivers of energy. And so when you send positive energy out, you have a definite chief aim, you have a focus, you present, and you watch the synchronicity starts to happen, and you have enough faith to step out into the unknown to experience your growth. All of that is really about the deep work process. And not only just in your entrepreneur journey, but also in your journey as a mother, in your journey as a father, in your journey as a neighbor, all of those things, because that's what for me, entrepreneurship is about who you have become.
So we didn't invent deep work. Want to check out Cal Newport, Deep Work, The Rules of Focused Success in a Distracted World. It's a great read, and I think if you start to incorporate deep work in your life and your business, you'll find much value in it. We have personally things that would take us a tired 12-week year or 3 months to do, we've been able to take care of in a 1-hour deep work session. That focused, concentrated effort on a topic allows us to move the process forward. And it could be any number of things. We were putting together the BEAM program, which is a reward and recognition program for our team. And we actually had multiple deep work sessions to put together not only the details of the program, but how to incorporate it into the lives of our employees. That has been tremendous. So whereas we're still getting it to be a part of the fabric of what we do, meaning this is how you get a raise, it's a part of the BEAM program, we see the value in putting it together. Those hours, something that would have taken us months, even years to put together, after a few hours of deep work, we were able to get it done. So it definitely boosts our creativity and everything that we do as it relates to our employees.
An exciting part for me about deep work is that we come with nothing. We don't prepare, we don't have any notes, because when we come, we want to come with our presence, and we want to come with a sense of enthusiasm and joy and fun. And as the conversations start to happen, you can start to see how the ideas start to come, the creative ideas start to come, and one person feeds into another person. And it's just so amazing to see how at the end of this deep work session, it may be an hour, 15, 20 minutes, is that we got a long list of things that we had not even really thought about or even talked about that we're going to put on our agenda to get us closer to the goal that we're trying to reach.
So before we bring Courtney on, who's going to tell us about what she is doing and what she has done in her business, here are just a couple other things to consider. If you are one who's distracted by cell phones, texts, etc., that would be me. You can try a digital detox app like Force or Freedom or Focus. Force, Freedom, and Focus. Try those because they are helpful. And we talked about before that you can also say no. You don't have to say yes to every single thing that somebody asks you to do. Can you go to lunch with me? The answer may be no, not right now. Or no, not this week. Or no, I cannot do that with you. So utilizing these techniques are important. And there's plenty of others. Whereas we will share in our blog even more tips that we may not discuss here in general. But I think those are a couple that would be helpful.
Well, I have a couple that I thought about. This is what not to do. Create unnecessary tight deadline. Don't put yourself under that kind of pressure. It's unnecessary, right? Another thing I thought about what not to do is to focus excessively on the next moment, because you lose yourself in that next moment because you're not doing what you're supposed. It's sort of like cooking a dinner, and you want to come home, you put on your music, you put your wine on, you put your little cooking clothes on, and you just enjoying it. You getting ready to cook this dinner for your family, and you're going to want to make sure everybody is enjoying the dinner, and you're going to season it right, and you just in a good mood, and that energy is flowing into you, and you cooking that dinner and listen to that jazz and drinking, and that dinner becomes delicious. Or you can come in and be like, I got to do this, I got to do that. You just come in, you just throw some salt and pepper, just throw the chicken in the frying pan and flip it over real quick and run out the kitchen. When you put excessive focus on the next moment, trust me, the quality of what you're doing is definitely going to go down. So those are just two things. Don't create unnecessary tight deadline for yourself, and excessively focusing on the next moment and not being present.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Okay, it's time to bring on our guests. So welcome, Courtney.
Welcome. Thank you so much. It's so great to be here with you both again. And wow, what just amazing sentiments I got to listen to there. That was incredible.
Absolutely. So Courtney is the founder of Northern Michigan's first kombucha brewery. It's called Cultured Kombucha Company. which I believe is one of the many companies that offers this product. But are you the only Michigan kombucha company, Courtney?
So that's a great question. There are a few Michigan kombucha companies, but we are the largest manufacturer of kombucha and the only certified organic kombucha in the Midwest at this time.
Got it. All right. Well, we're gonna talk all about how you decided to go there. I want to congratulate Courtney. She is one of the newest members of Michigan's 50 Companies to Watch. So congratulations, Courtney, and the entire company, because I know that it is a team effort, but definitely we are proud of you for being recognized in that way.
Well, thank you so much. That's wonderful. I appreciate it.
So Courtney, she gets awards all the time. So we're so happy to have her. She has literally won 5 times 40 Under 40 awards, which is super exciting. And believe me, Courtney believes in the healing power. Now, I had the opportunity to taste the kombucha when we were together at Edward Lowe Foundation. I have to tell you, it is fantastic. But Courtney, you're gonna have to tell me, can too much of a good thing be bad for you?
Ooh, great question. Yeah. So what is kombucha, right? Kombucha is really simple when it comes down to it. It's a fermented tea, but it's fermented for health instead of alcohol. And so in that process, you're getting probiotics, live cultures, and digestive enzymes. So it's gonna be a little bit tart, a little bit sweet, a little bit bubbly, kind of like a healthier alternative to a soda or a Gatorade. Too much of a good thing, not so much here. Most of the times people will drink a bottle, maybe 2 bottles a day, and we don't really know of any adverse side effects at that point. If you've got a healthy diet on the regular, if you're consuming other fermented foods or whole foods, most of the time we just see it as like an addition to a healthy lifestyle.
I got it. So, go ahead, Emmanuel.
I have a question. Courtney, how did you end up in this industry? I mean, was it your family was in it before, or how did you get into this industry?
Leave it to Emmanuel to go right for the juicy question
That's right.
first. I love it. Yeah, how did I start fermenting tea for a living? Like, gosh, what an odd thing to get into, right? So I had originally gone to culinary school and I was a chef. And then after that, I studied to be a nutritionist because people were they're disconnected from their food, right? They don't understand food, my body on the daily, and this is how they work together. Your food is your vitality, it's your wellness, it's your hormones, it's everything that makes you whole as a person in a lot of ways. And so I really wanted to help people connect those dots. And so after studying that, I was working in the restaurant industry and ironically had my own health issues. So I experienced autoimmune issues for many years. At the time, they weren't as well talked about as they are nowadays. The Google searches weren't nearly as on par with information as they are for Dr. Google nowadays. And so I sought to heal my own body, and food was the first thing that I turned to, fermented foods of my own. And that kind of sent me down the rabbit hole of kombucha, and it was just an incredible addition to my day-to-day that really made an impact on the symptoms I was experiencing.
Courtney, that's what we love about you, because it's really about sharing. It's about you sharing to help other people. That's kind of where I see where your passion is, and for you to have established and grew your business to where it is now. What is your secret sauce?
Ooh, our secret sauce. Gosh, if I'm going to be honest, I think it's a few parts of a different thing. One is intention, right? Because just like you said, for everything that you do in life, intention, energy goes where intention flows. And we're not necessarily in it for the cash grab. So when you talk about passion and purpose, coming together for profit, we just so happen to be the receptors of profit on the other end for doing something that's for the betterment of others. So I think going into it with the right intentions is what, you can taste that difference, right? It's an experiential difference. We use whole ingredients. We're not taking shortcuts. We work with really well-trusted vendors. And we, in the process of me having a culinary degree, developed our own proprietary brewing method. So I think a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a dash of hope and care kind of made it all come together.
I love it.
Well, Courtney, the tricky thing always, and I know nothing about this, but I just hear, how did you sell your first unit? How did you get shelf space? How did it happen?
Okay, well, let's get really honest here. Because I was 24 when I started, right? I had no idea what I was doing. I was living out of the back of my Jeep. I sold a couple of buckets of kombucha at a local farmer's market, and I had naively no idea what I was getting into, which is great because I probably wouldn't have started if I did. And at the end of that first season of farmers markets, people said, well, where can I find it next? And I was like, well, I guess I should probably start selling to stores. And so here we are. We're in about 650 retail stores now, and 10 years later.
Wow. Congratulations. That is fantastic.
So Courtney, quick question.
Look, we can't wait. We try to get you, Courtney. Okay.
I know. Now that we got you, we're gonna ask you these questions. So, growing up as a kid, I know you were 24 when you started doing your experimentation. But could you make a connection growing up? Was this somebody that was influencing you, or did you how did you make the connection of being an entrepreneur? And could you go back to a point in time in your life when you were younger where you made that connection?
You are a very intuitive man. I give you much credit there. Yes. Did I know it until it happened, though? No. Do I know that I'm on the right path now? Yes. So as a kid, I remember my grandmother very much having me up on the counter. You know, I grew up in a very Polish household where food was love, and some interaction of food was surrounding ourselves with that and experiencing it. And so I had that association from a very early age. Ironically, my grandmother, that same grandmother that had me on the counter, was an entrepreneur. And women in that era were not allowed to be entrepreneurs, right? And so she started a chain of seamstress shops, back in the 50s, I believe. And so that kind of joke that it's in my bloodline, as a female entrepreneur, she was way ahead of her time in that sense. I think unintentionally, God probably surrounded me with the infrastructure before I really knew it, right? Sure, maybe I had a lemonade stand way back when, but realistically, I do think that I always knew that there was a path there for sure.
Wow, that's interesting. So being so young and now being in this business 10 years, how do you stay focused and intentional with your time?
Very good question. Yeah. So, when I think back to the fact that I started this business with zero acumen, right? I had no idea getting into it what it meant to really run a business. I just knew that I had a great product and it had a great intention behind it. And so I had to build those lessons along the way. And we self-manufacture. And so, there's a lot to be learned in that sense. I didn't have any manufacturing background. I knew that for the first couple of years, I filled off of buckets. And then after that, I bought a used bottler that I didn't know how to operate off of eBay. And then from there, I applied for state grants to get full-on bottling lines. I think for me, it's been a lesson in honing my personal discernment, that God-given discernment to understand, one, what am I prioritizing and why? And two, am I getting to a point of potential burnout? And how far away from that am I? And really evaluating, am I to my actual edge, or do I think I'm at my edge and I can go a little bit further? And then, once I've got to that point of almost breaking, I guess I would say that's when we evaluate, what really needs to move off my plate? Who's better qualified for what I'm doing, and how can we make that transfer of knowledge happen in a way that makes everyone successful in the process?
That's major. So, Courtney, let's talk about how you evaluated and then made that decision. I'm getting close to burnout.
Yeah.
You didn't fall out, did you?
There were some close calls. I'll be honest, I think that I am such a blinders on person. One thing that I have really worked on in the recent years of my entrepreneurial journey is understanding how to appropriately use my throttle in life, right? And so I have always been like a go, there was just go. Go was the only mode, right? And there was no metering, there was no choking back, there was no understanding how, it was just if I was on something, I was on it until it was completed because I had the creative energy and it was there and I followed through. And so understanding how to bring more balance, like Emmanuel was talking about at the beginning of the show, into all areas of my life was probably how I learned to evaluate that. Because if I was fully focused in one area, I could tell that another area of my life started to suffer, right? And so getting close to burnout to me probably meant that I felt the implication in other relationships, in my personal health and wellness, in my energy towards others. And so when I started to notice that those were being reflected back poorly to me, friends, family, significant others, my daily routines, if they were starting to suffer to a point where it was impacting that relationship, that was when I knew that I needed to reevaluate.
Well, Courtney, Thank you for that, Courtney. Thank you. That was great. What I love about you is at such a young age, your intuitiveness and your courage to step into that unknown. I think those two together, your ability to be, is just something inside of you that you're following, that you have intuition. And, and then the next part about it is the courage. So this young lady is just like, where did she get that from? And so I think that is a big part of what I see of your journey of becoming and realizing who you are and sharing your gifts and talents with the world. And I want to thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you. You both have such a unique, inspirational way of connecting with people. But Emmanuel, I think that you see people on such a raw level, and that's something that I appreciate about you and our experiences I've had together. We've just, man, when you and I connect, it's like we go deep really quick, and I love that experience. I love it so much because not everyone can do that. But yeah, I think that I've just been incredibly blessed in so many ways, and I wake up with just, gratitude from every aspect of what I do, because for some reason, the right people always show up in my life at the right time. And maybe that's why there's a little bit of blind courage. Maybe it's a little bit of naivety. I don't know. But I do know that, God, creator, universe, whatever you want to call this magnificent energy that we get to experience every day, the more I lean into that and trust it, the faster my life moves and the pace and the direction that it's supposed to go. And I've had incredible mentors and incredible coaches and incredible people in my life that have really helped hone that discernment and tune into that true intuition to filter out, what's not supposed to be there. And I really think that is what has brought together all of those balancing skills, the people, the profit, the purpose, the timelines. Like, without that ability to tune into yourself, you don't have much.
Wow. So, okay. Thank you. You went deep. Thank you so much.
We do every time. I'm telling you.
We talk about being busy and entrepreneurship and in business, and that's a part of the culture today. But when we talk about meaningful work, it's not really doing a whole bunch of stuff fast, right? But it's really doing it smarter. What are some of the ways that you've learned to work smarter?
Great question. Yeah, so busyness and business, they tend to go hand in hand. But for us, as we work at this day and age, where fulfillment means something different than it did 50 years ago, we still have a lot of manual processes, right? And so we need to find ways to engage with our team to make sure that they still find fulfillment in what they're doing, even if it's not something that is innately fulfilling to everyone. Like filling bottles isn't going to be the most fulfilling job duty, but working towards a goal of, creating a product that helps people, that brings them help, right? That's the fulfillment aspect. So for us, I think we look to automate what can be automated, let it run, let it do its thing, but find ways to make sure that those positions that are heavy in monotony or create busyness, find ways to make sure also at the same time that they have fulfilling properties to them, and that everyone knows and understands that they are a part of something bigger.
Yeah, that's important, because sometimes you can think, I'm just a bottle filler, or I'm just a detailer. This is all I do, and they don't see the larger value in that and how it fits into the whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just parts of the business that aren't always going to be the most fulfilling or fun. There are some busy aspects that you just have to do. But at today's day and age, automate where you can automate, walk away where you can, right? Let it do its thing, and find other areas that you can continue optimizing. I think consistent analysis for optimization with relevant technologies you have to stay on top of it.
Yeah. So as a Reiki master and an expert in meditation, do wellness practices help you work smarter and structure your work?
I can tell you that when I do not meditate on the regular, my life suffers a little bit, for sure. I don't come in with as level of a head towards my team. I get distracted easier. I'm less present, right? And I think you can both interact with this and share that same sentiment. As entrepreneurs, it's our job to determine what is the top priority and when, right? Because we get bombarded with stuff all day long. What fire, in what order, and how do we address it? And so things like Reiki, or meditative practices, or energy practices, prayer for some people, giving yourself that space is everything, right? I've got my morning routine. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I go to the gym for an hour. And then I come home from the gym and I take my shower, and then I go right into my 30-minute morning meditation, because if I don't do that, I know that I will get distracted by the first thing that walks in the door, right? And so making sure that not only that I give it to myself as a gift, but I'm giving it to the rest of the people, to my business, to everything else in my life at the same time.
So we're going to talk about meditation. I know Emmanuel cannot wait. He is sitting on the edge of his chair.
It's like,
But one thing that I noticed you did not say at 4:30 in the morning is you check your email.
no, God, no. I don't need that anxiety that early. No. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just, it's too easy to get sucked into that, right? And I know that if I don't take care of myself, everything else is going to suffer. And so, like, that 2 hours in the morning is my me time.
That's right. I call it my hour power. So it's like, I don't say don't talk to me, but it's kind of like I try to get up early enough where nobody's talking.
Well, Courtney, I make sure I don't say nothing to her. I let her have her hour of power, and I just stay away from that.
Yep. Smart man.
Because one of the things for me, in listening to our conversation, for me, the word came to me, hurry slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Hurry slowly. And when I thought about that, it just came. And what I thought about that is, for me, is my ability to wake up in the morning knowing that I have things to do, but being able to be so present that my mind don't take me away. And being able to walk that balance, that doing and being, having that balance of hurrying, getting things done, but do it in a way where I am so present that I don't lose myself. And so I think that balance during the course of the day, and a lot of times I have to stop and meditate, take a minute to meditate, and then I get right back balanced and keep doing and being.
That's beautifully put. It's so easy to get sucked into the rush, right? Because there's always stuff for us to do as entrepreneurs, always. And I'll be honest, I think that, as a business owner, there's going to be times of hustle and there's going to be times of rest, right? And sometimes, like you said, there's no such thing. If you're a passionate person, there's no such thing in a lot of ways. But understanding that it goes through ebbs and flows and doing your best to hurry in a slow fashion is a beautiful way to put it. Because the less present you are in those, the more hurried it becomes.
Yeah.
Right? It becomes chaotic. It becomes disorganized. And so you stay in that period longer because things are further disorganized than they need to be. But that was very well put.
Well, you just clarified it for me. You gave me feels when you said
It's a whole lot of chill exchange here. Right. So what would you say to the entrepreneur who feels like slowing down, even when they're close to burnout, means falling behind?
That's a great question, and I think I can speak to it with a level of authenticity because of some of the changes we're getting ready to make here at the brewery. I found that I was really close to that edge again, right? And it wasn't good for me, it wasn't good for my team, it wasn't good for my relationships. And so, I think we often allow busyness into our life as a form of self-sabotage. I think it's our way of choosing to stay where we're at because it's simpler than choosing to be present. It's simpler than making a hard decision to change something. And it allows us to stay in the comfort of where we're at when, if things get that busy, it's usually life saying, okay, rearrange, something new is coming, something bigger is coming, we're giving you your next level up, right? Are you going to take it, or are you going to stay busy and distracted in this section? So I think that anytime you're given the opportunity for busyness, evaluate it for the challenge that it is. It's the opportunity to really take a good, hard look at your life and see, okay, where do things need to shift? And am I choosing to be busy? Am I choosing to self-sabotage that? Or is this an opportunity for me to transform and grow and become a better version of myself?
That's powerful. It immediately made me think about the fact that I would say I create space, and that's where my creativity comes from. It's the reality of saying I'm not busy at this moment. If I could define what creating space is, I'm not busy.
Yep. I'm choosing what I'm doing with my time at that time.
That's right. It is a conscious choice at that moment. And it's amazing how things just show up and people show up and things happen just the way they were supposed to without me making it happen.
Always, absolutely. And that's the thing about the divine timing, right? And the synchronicities like you spoke of. Like, the less control you have over it, the less busy you are, the faster everything comes through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about working smarter. You've scaled multiple businesses and you're scaling this business as well. So let's talk a little bit about scaling the business and what are some of the changes that you had to make or have to make when you are about to scale?
Great question. Yeah. So like where are your resources best used for you in that business at that time? And that's hard, right? Because you get personal relationships involved with it with your team. You have margins to consider, you have customer relationships to consider. And so, for us and in consumer packaged goods too, there's a lot of evaluation of what portions of my process do I touch and what portions do I allow other people to support us in. Do I contract out recipe development? Do I contract out bottle filling? Do we do it all in-house? At what point of profitability do those matter to us? Do I work with brokers or do I have a dedicated sales team, right? So for us, food manufacturing is such a big business model for so many reasons. For us, we have fermentation sciences, we have manufacturing, which is our bottling, we have cold storage and logistics for shipping, and then we've got a sales force to consider, right? And all of that. So it's a very multifaceted operation. And so for us, we operate 650 stores with a team of 5. And it's hard. Like a lot of days, it's just straight up hard, but it's a good hard because it makes us really evaluate what are we doing with our time, how, and when. And so, we've had to take a hard look at what portions of our process are we best at and what can someone else do better for us.
Wow, that is powerful, and that's a testament. And the exciting part about it is you don't even think about it anymore, right? You don't think that, I can be in 700 stores now and maybe we need a quarter of a person. Because at this point, this is what I've already done.
Absolutely. And like I said, getting to that edge, right? It's usually not that you can't get something done. It's, are you the right person to get it done? And where is my time not being appropriately used otherwise?
Yeah, that's, I told you, Mayo, that's like saying, all right, I can pay someone $25 an hour to do it, or I can pay myself $25,000 to do it an hour. So from that standpoint, it's how you value your time. And of course, he got philosophical. Well, where'd you get that number from?
How could you not get philosophical? It's Emmanuel. Come on.
Like, no, it was just an example. Just relax. It's okay. It's okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about where to focus your energy when you are growing the business quickly. And I'm saying that softly, but demand is there, and you have to figure out how to grow the business. So where do you focus your energy?
I think for me in the last year, it's been pushing myself to have the hard conversations faster. I think that was starting the business so young. I had the hustle, I had the taste buds, I had the process down, but it was really learning how to drive team buy-in towards our goal, educate them on what they need to be educated on, but not putting too much burden on their plate, and getting to really understand through having these hard conversations, like what is their skill set going to be and where do I need to help them grow? And it's something that's, it's a continuous work in progress. I think that for me in the last year or so has been like the real area of focus.
Yeah, that's major.
It is, and there's a lot of personal growth, I think, that was demanded in that same process too, right?
Yeah, exactly. You share a little bit of your personal growth journey. So I'm going to ask for another slither. What was one of the areas where you had to grow personally?
Gosh, which one?
I know, right? If you ask me that question, it's like, okay, I'll have to lay back on the couch for that one.
Yeah, seriously though. I think being really radically accountable to myself was probably the hardest ego trip. I taking full acceptance of I have created exactly where I'm at in life, and so therefore if I want something different, it's me and only me that's going to make that decision to make the transformation. And knowing that every aspect of myself contributes to that, from every conversation to holding others accountable, to holding myself accountable, to how I'm showing up, choosing busyness or not choosing busyness, incorporated ruthless consistency and radical accountability have been probably the 2 areas of growth that I have really worked on this year.
I love it. Ruthless consistency.
Yeah.
I love it. So time is money, and lots of time we want to work smarter, not longer. So we're going to break down the myth that busyness is the answer to productivity, because that is not necessarily the case at all. And I would argue that space, like creating deep work, thought, presence in that moment where you can solve an answer and creativity comes, is a better answer than being busier.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Courtney, I just think that your wisdom is so beautiful. And I'm just enjoying this conversation, and I'm enjoying the nuggets of wisdom that you are dropping on our listening audience. And I just hope that they can take this information and apply it and make themselves and make their world and make their family better. And so that's what this podcast is really, really all about. I think that when they talk about being busier is better, I just think that the busy aspect of it is really all about what your perception is, and it's really about helping you to balance your life and evolve, because you got to have the yin and the yang. You can't have friction without growth. And so I think that just this whole journey that we're on together, because I would say we're on together because we're all connected, is really about making this world a better place and emitting the energy and the vibration in this world that we can all collectively unify and unite with the beautiful flowers and the trees and the plants and make this world a better place. And I think that that's what this outpouring and awakening is really all about. And those of us who are conscious that we're conscious and realize that the work that I'm doing is a part of something bigger and is a part of a collective consciousness that's making the world better, and understanding that. And I think that's where that knowledge that you drop is really coming from that place.
You two are such a blessing to your listeners into the world. I hope you know that. Like, I don't get to have conversations like this very often. It's just it's amazing. It's amazing that you're open to sharing that with your community, and I feel so grateful for being able to have that conversation, and hopefully someone takes something away from it that is meaningful to them. But most importantly, thank you both for giving them the platform to be able to receive that.
You're welcome, Courtney. What I say is, if anyone's listening and they're overwhelmed by business or life for that matter, and all the responsibilities associated with a to-do list, etc., I hope this conversation has inspired them to focus on what matters. Because at the end of the day, that is the case. So, Courtney, we can't leave here without saying, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Great question. I would love to connect with your listeners on LinkedIn. They can find me on there. They can also find us, both Cultured Kombucha and myself, Courtney Lorenz, on Instagram. And I look forward to learning more about them.
So, Courtney, thank you so much. Thank you for reminding us of turning your passion into purpose. And keep doing what you're doing. Let's keep doing it together with love. Until next time, I'm Angela
and Emmanuel Williams.
We have Courtney Lorenz here today, busting down knowledge. Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you, Courtney.
All right.
Thank you for listening to More Details, Please, presented by Emmanuel and Angela Williams from DetailXPerts, the mobile steam cleaning company dedicated to protecting the planet. Be sure to subscribe to More Details, Please, on your favorite podcast platform. You can also follow us on Facebook at DetailXperts and visit DetailXperts.net. That's DetailXperts.net. We hope you've gained some valuable insights from our conversations today. Stay driven by curiosity, and we'll bring you more details next time.